What's happening, folks? So, just going to talk through my weekly reflection. And past week, I traded 4 times: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, only 4 trades. 2 trades taken on the 60-minute chart, 2 trades taken on the 30-minute chart, and a total outcome for the week of just almost spilt my cup of tea, but a total percentage outcome for the week of minus 1.44%. So not the best weeks for me. And after Tuesday's trade, I sort of had a little bit of bitterness for the rest of the week, just because of what I actually did in the trade, which was nothing. Which resulted in a full loss. But I'll kind of talk on that in a minute. But just starting on Monday, first trade I took was on the 60-minute chart. And that trade came at 9 o'clock. It was just this candle here. So like leading into the session, we had a mixed bass. But what I really just liked visually from what I could see is we sort of have this structure where we're pushing, we have a higher support, we then have continuation, price then pulls back to the support, forms a support, and fails to continue, and price puts in this lower resistance. Now this lower resistance is of course still in line with the support, so it's not until we get this break here below the support that, to me, this sort of signals like a change in structure. I'm sort of looking at this, I'm expecting this because of the support bullish. We do this and we fail. Price then pulls back previous structure, and then we get another lower resistance. So for me at that point, it makes a decision easy for me to look for sales. Now, I took the sell on the close of this candle, and I was just looking to trade down, and at the point in time prior to the week starting, I had this little support structure here drawn out like this, which was basically just holding price up. We sort of held support, came here, and then we continued. So from a target perspective, I was looking to push down into this region, and I was sort of just playing like this range here, which is this, down into here, just looking to push into a profitable position to see what happened. Now this trade taken on the 1 hour, I actually closed this for a loss of 0.5% loss here. Price then pushed up, and I just didn't like what I was seeing. I've just made the decision to cut the trade there based on price action. As you can see, price just pulled back in the structure and then sort of rolled over and achieved target. I didn't do any form of re-entry or anything like that. I just took the loss and was like, you know what, I'll move on. Looking back at the trade, taking it based on the 1 hour, was it the most sensible area to sell? There's definitely a few things on this specific trade which, looking back on the week traded, I feel like I could have been a little bit more specific with my entry area, because I felt like I made a few little mistakes where I was maybe selling at a resistance, buying at the support, or not buying at the support, sorry, like selling at a previous structure point rather than selling below it or something like that. And this is a perfect example, because when you look at the 1 hour chart, if I just looked at this price action and says what do I expect, well, I expect downside, right? But clearly see where this candle closes, it sort of reacts off this resistance. Prices pushed up, pulled down, pushed up, this resistance here. We can clearly see we have this wick here. So for me, just basically looking at this, I could say to myself the safest place to sell would be below this resistance, but also below this low, right? If I look at this on the 30-minute chart, the range becomes a little bit easier. This is the range on the 30 in terms of candle closes. I just duplicate that, bring that down to here. That's what we're working with. So we can clearly see, even on the 30-minute chart, this candle, although it closes very strong, which was the reason for me getting into the trade, that candle alone just gave me confidence. So I get into the position. We closed above. You can clearly see it. The next candle doesn't even come and break the low yet. So if I had have said, you know what, identified this in the moment and says yes, buy sales makes sense. However, just wait a little bit longer. Break this low and we're in. Happy days. And I could have even had a tighter stop in terms of if I waited to here to break this, because we're breaking back into this zone. I could look to test the bottom, stop positioning. I could even have it above that candle. I could even go as far as above the sort of lower resistance formed on 15-minute. So there's definitely multiple ways how being a little bit more patient and selective with the entry could have paid dividends and give me an easier trade. And I was just solely looking at this on the 1 hour. Yes, this is here, but I was sort of paying more attention to broke down, closed below, pulled up, formed to continue, lower resistance. What makes sense is continuation, and it did come. I was just a little bit more aware, and not so. I'm not even going to say not so trigger happy, because the candle itself, I could have even looked at areas. If I was looking to manage downside, right? Where could I have managed downside based on structure? Well, I firstly identified that this support structure is holding everything up, right? So if this support structure is holding everything up, manage above it, because if we don't break back above it, then there shouldn't be no drama. So, even just doing that, I can see that we didn't even encroach that area. So I definitely could have managed it better, and I could have definitely improved the entry. But that was one where the trade and the analysis played out. But I just didn't like what I seen for the pullback. I said to myself I could close here. I didn't want to see, because this is the thing. I could pick those areas within the drawdown section and say, well, right, makes sense to close above here. But I feel like I'm then playing on hope that those levels are respected. And at the time, sort of focuses on light decision making. So it just was like, look, I entered, didn't like what I seen, closed it, move on, right? Deal with it after. So that's what happened with this trade. Moving on then into Tuesday, I was actually looking to trade this option here. We'd sort of broken out, formed a target, pulled back, support, confirmed. I was looking to identify this trade, trade up to this target. Just with work, I wasn't paying attention to the chart because it was working, and I didn't see, I wasn't able to get involved in this move. So when price formed the target here, pull back the structure, and change structure on the. Let me just double check my spreadsheet. Yeah. So very simple. Pull back the previous structure. What I was looking for here was we formed support. What I liked on the 15, I took the trade on the 30, but what I liked on the 15 was we had this change in structure, where prices pulled down, formed a resistance, failed to continue down, and put in a higher support with this candle, which closed above here, above this resistance zone. So what I'm expecting when I see this is more upside, continuation, clean candle here. Well, unfortunately, this 15-minute candle leading into London, leading into New York. Unfortunately, this candle just prints bullish or bearish. Like, in my opinion, it's unfortunate because there's every chance that this candle does that and puts me into a profitable position based on the fact that we're bullish. We've pull back the previous structure. We've changed structure on the 15. 30-minute we've formed a support. Although it's a weak support, we're then buying above here. So at the time of me buying that candle, the 30-minute candle is looking quite bullish at the time. And this idea makes sense to me. You know, I feel like it's just very unfortunate that this candle just didn't do what it did, only on the opposite side and be bullish. But because again, it's sort of leading into London or New York, and I'm thinking volume, right? I'm thinking, can we get this next push and then potentially open and continue? But it didn't happen, and this is where this day, this is where I sort of fucked up, because I asked for advice on Monday from, you know, peers and trading. I got like really good advice, and at the time it sort of threw me off, and that's only down to me. I sort of took their advice, and in the moment while I was in this trade, I sort of forgot about what my actual goal was, what my objective is, which is to get into a profitable position, remain profitable, and take action, live decision making, while in a trade based on what I can see, right? So at this time, I had the chance to manage my downside on three occasions, but I chose not to, because in my mind was clouded. I was thinking, right, I asked for advice, got the advice, and then there's something that I've struggled with in the past, is like trying to apply that in the moment instead of parking it and then maybe addressing it at a later stage, or seeing how the week goes and then maybe applying that advice to my trades and saying maybe could things would be different based on that. So what I actually done is I actually froze like in this trade, and I did nothing and took a full loss. I had a chance to close at 0.25% in drawdown. I had a chance to close at 0.5% drawdown, and I took no action, and it resulted in a full loss. And if I reflect back to what my goal is for the next 6 months, is to just make decisions on the fly based on what I can see, regardless of what the outcome is. I completely forgot about that, and sort of let emotions take over, which shouldn't happen. And I thought to myself, what if my analysis plays out? Should I do this? Should I do that? And then next minute it's too late and I lost. So that really pissed me off. And it wasn't the fact that I took a loss, it was the fact that I didn't do what the goal was, right? You know, I didn't make a live decision. I didn't tick the boxes. And I just allowed me doing nothing resulted in the worst possible outcome. And that sort of threw me off for the rest of the week. I was sort of like I was annoyed with myself and that sort of stuff. And then of course we came into Wednesday. Wednesday, I was actually looking to trade on Wednesday. I was actually looking to trade this zone. Price had come down, formed a lower formed a supported previous structure, formed a lower resistance, failed to continue, and this candle closed sort of basically bang on the 4-hour support. And I was actually looking to trade this here, but 3 o'clock opened, and as soon as 3 o'clock opened, like literally within 1 minute, price pushed up and hit target. Like in this, this is a 5-minute candle, but I was literally just watching this, and price just went boom within like 20 seconds and achieved like the top of the range or the mid range. Because I was looking to trade this on the 1 hour. The idea was sort of like this: take a trade here above this resistance in this zone, stops below the support, and trade up to here like this, or trade up to sort of here, and maybe go like here, and then just manage if price came below this zone, below the support. Because my thought process is, well, if we formed a lower resistance Why aren't we continuing down? We've changed structure here. We're now coming back into this zone. Makes sense to see upside, right? Let me just bring on my weekly outlook areas as well. This was the area where I was looking to potentially buy from based on my weekly outlook, so it aligned with that. So that is, let me just actually take those off. It looks a little bit annoying. So that move played out, right? And then later on in the day, we were holding structure here. So this is when I have my zones plotted, price closes within a zone. If price holds support above that support zone, it gives me really good confidence, because it's basically what price is telling me is it's able to hold support within. So if it holds support within and you're playing a range, where do you want to buy from in a range? At the bottom. So to me, I took a buy on this 30-minute close here. I wasn't too worried about this. Like range, because all I'm doing is I'm just looking to get into a position. At the end of the day, I'm looking to play this whole range. This has done this, and then this is holding above this support and above this zone. We can clearly see that multiple times price has pushed down and tried to test, but failed to do so, and then went to the upside. So I got involved. I basically played the exact same thought process, the exact same idea as this option at 3, which I didn't get into, only a little bit later on in the day. So get into the position, held a bit of drawdown, but I trusted my management of this was if price came below this zone, right? And it didn't. It very almost did. But I had so much trust in my analysis that even when I was sitting in drawdown here, I wasn't worried one bit, because all this is telling me price doesn't want to go down. We're holding within this zone. It only makes sense to see upside. So price then pushed into profit, and I closed this position here at the highs for plus 0.36%. And the reason I done this was because it was coming up to what time is that? Yeah, it was coming up to the new daily open. So for one, I didn't want to hold a position overnight, and two, I didn't want to hold a position and allow the spread of the new day to open, and either price maybe, I don't know what's going to happen. It could just hit tank the downside. I don't know. I just thought I can close in a profitable position here, leading up the new day. Done so. Happy days. Obviously, what happened during the night is price pulled back, same structure respected, support, higher support, continuation, target achieved. From an analysis perspective, and even just like even just a range in its own perspective, price played the whole 4-hour range the whole way. Clearly see how important this mid-range level is. Once we get above it, we hold support above for further continuation in New York session on Thursday. But then we get to Friday. This is where I took my 4th trade of the week, first trade of the new month. This was taken on the 1-hour time frame, and this trade to me made a lot of sense. But I feel like in reflection, I feel like maybe this was just unfortunate as well with not getting the continuation. But again, I think as well, kind of reflecting back to Monday and identifying an area where there was a better option to get involved, I think I could have applied that to Friday as well. I'll talk about that. So I had a bullish bias going into the market or into the session. What I liked, we had support here, we formed resistance. This candle 8 to 9 has a big rejection with the downside, which rejects the 4-hour resistance zone. Asian range gets rejected. This candle opens, pushes down, and then pushes up, and it's breaking this wick. We're breaking above resistance, we're breaking above 1-hour resistance. We're seeing multiple rejections to the downside, higher supports. What makes more sense? Buys, right? It's as simple as that. I took a entry on the break. and I decided to close the position here. If I just drop down the time frames, my management of this position was, I had Asian range down and around here, and I was thinking that's maybe where I could manage. However, what I didn't like was the fact that we couldn't hold above the 1 hour resistance. We can clearly see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles have failed to close above, and have all got rejection, wicks to the upside. So if I'm buying above those, I'm buying in the safest position in my opinion in this area. But what I want to see is, I want to see my candle closing above. When my candle couldn't sustain above and hold and started to come back below the resistance, I just closed it. I was like, nah, price isn't doing what I wanted to see. I'm looking for continuation. Are we continuing? No. Closed it. Price then comes down, hit stop loss, right? And this is where I feel like I can see here that there's like 6 or 7 candles that have failed to close above. So I feel like from an improvement standpoint is, why not just wait and see if you get a candle closing above? And once the candle closes above and you get that sort of extra confirmation, then that could give me a bit more confidence to get involved. Every chance that I enter this and price just goes boom, and I'm like, happy days. But I think the fact that I could have said that for the previous 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles, I could have had that same approach and says, oh well, what if price just pushes, right? But it didn't. What if price just pushes, but it didn't? So what's the chances that this one's going to do it? Well, I can say it the previous 6 times, 5 times that it hasn't. So I think from identifying that and seeing that, then that could maybe give me some information to say, do you know what? Let me just wait. Let me just wait for a close, right? I think as well, I look at the 1 hour chart. Overall, this is the resistance. If we can hold support above the resistance, there's a greater chance of upside within the zone. We haven't even held support above. We're failing to close above. So if I look at the 1 hour zone and I just mark up, I've got the resistance, I just mark up the high, right? We can clearly see that once we break this high here, this is where we get the continuation, right? 1 to 2, fat bullish candle, which just says to me volume, right? Breaks the high or closes this is where I'm saying waiting for a close above gives me more confidence. We haven't closed above in any of these candles. Once this one closes above with a solid close, then we get the continuation. So that is what I maybe could have done in the moment. That says, you know what, I'm going to wait to see if we can close above, and then once we close above, buy, right? Rather than maybe buy and hope we're continuing because we're breaking. But we can clearly see on these levels we've all broke, but we haven't continued. So I feel like just maybe identifying that in the moment, that what we have failed to do here, and we're still trading within this zone where we have tapped into multiple times. Just wait for the close. Once you get the close, then you can act, right? Because if I mark this up, for instance, and I says, you know what, I know this is the resistance, this is the zone, maybe I don't want to trade in here. So even when this candle closes, I could say, well, I don't want to trade here because we're inside the zone. Then just trade above it, right? Trade on the break of the zone, trade on the break of the previous high. You still get your continuation. You still get the push, and it's all because of this candle. In my opinion, this is the one that is the confirmation candle. It tells me, right, we're ready to go. So looking back on the week, definitely could have improved my entry and awareness of other areas and time frames, which would have led to an easier entry and an easier option and a more straightforward trade. Yes, I could have said, Kevin, just like, you didn't need to close where you did, right? That's cool. But I feel like, take that away, I definitely could have had a better entry where I didn't need to hold this drawdown. This trade I feel like is potentially unfortunate, but at the same time, where am I trading? I'm trading above a resistance where we have held support above. Yep, on the 15. 30 hasn't closed yet. But what else is to the left? Well, we have an RD resistance here, right? Where am I trading into? I'm trading into an RD resistance, which is 6 pips away. Is that sensible? I don't think it is. But the reason I did get involved is because I was paying more attention to these clean candles and the fact that we'd pushed up cleanly, pushed down. But again, that shouldn't be enough to say, can you just ignore this, right? So again, could have improved entry here, could have improved the entry here. And again, even if I did improve this entry and say, well, if I trade above the resistance or above the zone, I'm then only trading technically a range of 16 pips from a stop positioning. Am I going to get a sensible trade in here that is going to make it worth my while? Potentially not. So that could have been one that could have been avoided with greater awareness, I feel like. Then again, Wednesday, I feel like that's grand. I'm happy with Wednesday. And then of course Friday, managed the downside well, but based on recent price action, could have been a bit more patient, and especially for the first trade of the month on a Friday, first trade of June, maybe could have picked maybe a higher probability trade, for example. And then of course there was a couple of options during the week which was maybe in my session which I wasn't able to capitalize on with work. So I could look at that in a way and say, God, I'm pissed off. I could plan better. I could do that. But at the same time, like, that's going to happen. If you're working, you're working. It's more important. It's more priority. So if options do get missed because I can't spend all the time at the chart, then it is what it is. I don't really need to look too deep into that, because there is options there. But so not the best weeks in terms of overall gain, not the best weeks in terms of analysis. I sort of completely forgot and allowed myself and my own emotions to sort of throw me off on Tuesday. And at the end of the day, I do deserve that. If I was, for me to be able to not make a decision when that is my goal, I deserve to take the loss. So it did piss me off for a couple of days, but it is what it is. Just come back tomorrow, get back on the same horse, tick off the same goals, and just keep continuing. I think as well, after a good session on Friday with Chris, my mentor, very easy to just say, look, you know what, that was a mistake. Just get back to what you were doing before. So I'm feeling pretty good to continue this week, and I have 2 weeks off work as well, so I can commit and give 100% attention in the day, in the session, to trading, which I'm looking forward to. So that's reflecting on my week. Few ups and downs, definitely things to improve on, especially emotions. And I think the main takeaway from that is just take the advice, but you don't have to apply the advice straight away. That's something I've been guilty of before, is because I want to progress so much, I think that's the best thing to do, but it's not. There's a time and a place to apply things, and midweek, completely forgetting what your goal is for the next 6 months and just applying something or not applying anything and getting your mind clouded by too many things, definitely isn't the right way to go. So lesson learned in that for myself, and looking forward to the next week.